It's fall, everyone, and that means it's time to start thinking about our fall containers. Today, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to plant up 2 of these half-size containers with some beautiful flowers that did not break the bank, that I think are going to be affordable to anyone's budget. Stick around. So for today's video, I'm going to plant up 2 separate containers in these composite stone-esque, very lightweight containers that I already had, so I'm not going to have to spend money on these. And they're not going to mirror each other. One's going to be a little bit more vibrant with those fall colors, the burgundies, the yellows, the oranges, and a couple whites. And that's going to be placed here on this table where it's going to live. And the other one is going to be a little bit closer to the staircase that leads out of our living room slider. So these are the beautiful flowers that I've selected for this first container. But before I talk about what I'm going to plant, I want to talk about how I saved money. First of all, I already had this container along with another one that I wasn't using. So right off the bat, I'm going to save some money there in comparison to buying one pre-made, which they were about $29 to $39.99 a container. They're beautiful, but always you can save money if you put it together yourself. And the really cool thing about doing that is that you can choose the plants that you want in the container, and it can be tailor-made just for your taste. So that's why I'm going to start today. The other way I saved money was I didn't this time go to Lowe's or Home Depot. These size containers are typically a little bit more expensive, plus they were having a sale. So I was able to find this size annual for $3.99 at my local retail garden center, actually, which in comparison to almost $6 at Lowe's, that's almost, 25 to 33% off right there. So in that sense, I saved a lot of money too. So I encourage you, if you have a family-owned garden center, you might want to give them a try because they have different deals than what we find at our normal big box retailers. So we're going to be using a variety of plants. We're going to start with this beautiful chrysanthemum here. This one is the butter and cream white variety, and you can tell it's just barely starting to open, and that's kind of what you want to do with a chrysanthemum if you're planting them in an arrangement. You want to get ones that haven't opened yet. This will rebloom, but not for a long time. So in order to get as much punch and time out of your mums, you want to get them perhaps preferably when they're closed. So these are just starting to open, so that's the perfect timing for these. And they will be placed in the center along with this beautiful, and I mean, they only had 2 of these left, and I can see why they only had 2 left, this gorgeous Nemesia. This is the little orange Nemesia, and this is also a lot more reasonable because it's non-branded. So if I would have purchased Proven Winners or maybe Monrovia branded items, it'd be a lot more money at Lowe's. And so since it's a non-branded annual, I saved money there. But it is so beautiful, you guys. I can see why they were sold out, because you have that beautiful yellow, burnt yellow that fades into an orange, and then you have a little bit of a burgundy all on the same bloom head. So I mean, to me, that screams fall, and I think it will be absolutely beautiful alongside the mums in here and give a really nice contrast in comparison to the creamy white of that and then all the other plants that are in here. So Nemesia for me here does the best when it's not super hot. So fall and early spring here in Southern California is best. I've noticed that some of my Nemesia that I've planted, even the Proven Winners varieties, when it gets really hot, it kind of zaps it and they don't do very well. There are exceptions to that rule. The pink Aromance variety from Proven Winners lasted me all through the summer, and it bloomed beautifully all through. It seemed to be a lot more heat tolerant. So the fact that this is non-branded, I'm not going to take any chances with that. I think it's the perfect time of year. And if I need to move this, if we get a little bit of heat, I can move it into a place where there's a little bit more shade from the sun. But I think it's going to be absolutely perfect, especially since we're heading into cooler weather. The next 3 plants that I'm going to put in here are these beautiful violas. And I love violas. I love pansies too, but for fall, violas are just constantly blooming. For us, they will bloom and bloom and bloom all the way through the winter, which I'm really looking forward to. All three of these colors, in comparison to what I have going on in the other plants, will really work super well with each other. And this was kind of like my inspiration, obviously, the Nemesia. And then the yellow, which is a really, really bright yellow. I know it's a little bit different than the burnt orangish yellow on there, but I think it's still gonna pop beautifully. So I have this. This is the penny yellow viola. And then I have the penny orange viola. And then this is a penny red blotch viola. And these three together kind of pull in the colors that are in this Nemesia. So this is kind of like the inspiration for this whole arrangement here. So those are gonna go in. I'm going to dab those in around. So then I'm gonna pop some of this color in here, this pretty white chrysanthemum. It's a different type than your traditional, and they're a little bit lower growing than the other ones. So I'm gonna pop some of these for some of that white color to bring down from the top, which these are a little bit taller. And then I'm going to sprinkle in just a little bit of this ornamental kale mix here. I'm gonna save my two purple varieties for the other arrangement that I'm gonna plant, but I'm gonna use the white variety, maybe two of these in here as well. When I was shopping for this, I saw so many different varieties, but I tend to like that roughly like lacy edge there. It kind of gives a contrast to everything else green going on in the arrangement. So I'll pop this in towards the end. So what I'm going to use today is I'm going to, first of all, use my gloves, and I'm going to use the Miracle-Gro moisture control potting mix. And I know there are a lot of different potting mixes available, and some people, you know, have different opinions on what's great and what works well for them. This works well for me. If you have a favorite potting mix, go ahead and use whatever you use in your containers, and that will be, I'm sure, just fine. I'm going to use the moisture control because I have found that it really does work well in keeping them not too wet and not too dry. It holds the moisture a little bit better, just enough to make sure that they can be successful. After I use this, I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit, although these probably won't need it heading into the fall too much, but I am going to add a little bit of starter fertilizer in there, not heavily, but just a little bit. They do need to be fed a little bit, but it's not as crucial in the process. So we're going to put a little bit of this, hopefully that'll last them through, and we're going to see how well they do through hopefully December, which I'm really looking forward to. So we're going to start with adding our soil. Just a little bit there on the bottom. Add a little bit of my Biotone fertilizer in there. Dabble that in. Mix it in. Now I don't want to add too much, but I want to add enough to where it does cover the root balls. But then I do have a lip on the top here to where if I need to soak this container, it's not running over the sides. So we're going to start with the chrysanthemum, and this is super healthy. It's not too root bound, so I'm going to put that straight away in there, just like that. All right. Now I'm going to add the beautiful Baby Cakes Little Orange Nemesia. And these are not root bound. All right. The other Nemesia I'm going to place on the opposite side there. All right, and just like that, I have the foundation for the whole arrangement. I could just leave it like this and it would be absolutely beautiful, but I'm gonna tuck some other plants in there to give it a little bit more pizzazz and a lot more pop in color. All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add one of these ornamental kale because they take up more space and they get quite a lot wider than some of the other varieties. So I'm going to just add one on one side and one on the other side to create a balance. So that's the first one on that side. I'm gonna pop another one in on this side. These little four pack or 6-pack containers are really nice because, you know, if I had all larger 4-inch containers like this, it wouldn't be as easy for me to pop everything in and have as many plants in the container. So it really does make it nice, and they're a lot more inexpensive, and you get more plants for your money because eventually they'll be bigger in size. These violas will be just absolutely beautiful, and they will fill in nicely. So those are those two on either side. As you can tell, one on this side and one on that side. And now I'm going to add my chrysanthemum to either side, starting with this side. And if you need to add more soil, you can always do that, but this is absolutely turning out perfectly. So I added that one. And I'm gonna, whatever I do on one side, I'm gonna make sure I do on the other side so it's balanced. So I'm not gonna get ahead of myself and start planting the violas. I really want to probably put more of this beautiful ruby burgundy color in than the other ones because I really want to draw in that rich tone. So I'm going to use more of these than the other ones. So I'm going to start with the first one here. I'm going to plant that exactly next to the ornamental kale that I already had planted. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side here. Now that I have that one, I'm going to come in on the other side of the other chrysanthemum and pop this one in. And now I'm going to come in with the other colors, starting with the yellow. That's our first container, and I don't know about you guys, but that is so beautiful. I'm so happy how this turned out, and this, I don't know about you, but it screams fall for sure, and it's going to look beautiful on this table as it sits there for the rest of the fall and hopefully into December. This is the first one. I'll get this watered in, and then we're going to start on the second one, which is going to be quite different, but yet in the same size container, saving us just as much money as this one did. Okay, now for the second arrangement, it's going to be so pretty, but quite different in that we have these beautiful cool colors. We're going to add lavenders in with our beautiful yellow that we had in our other arrangement. So it's going to be really pretty. It's going to be quite different, but I must mention before we get into putting this together that on these flowers, I spent a little over $40 for all of the flowers because of the sale items, and also some of the containers that were this size for their annuals were only $149. So that price definitely cannot be touched at any other retailer. So that was really a nice find for sure. For this arrangement, you see I have this beautiful Sonnet White Snapdragon here. This is going to be definitely the thriller that's I'm going to have towards the back. Then I'm going to add this beautiful color of yellow here. This is the Sunrise Yellow Chrysanthemum. And those are going to be on either side of that. And then we're going to put in this beautiful white stalks here in the front, and it has multiple bloom heads on it. This is supposedly a smaller variety. It doesn't get as tall, but I think it'll be really pretty towards the front. This will be towards the back, and even if they end up growing the same height, it'll be really pretty as a thriller together there in the center. And then I have these beautiful little violas here that have the purple and white and just a little tiny bit of yellow towards the center. I couldn't find the same variety. I was really impressed with this variety with the little face right there. Looks like a little grouchy face. It's kind of cool. And I did find another one that was in similar color scheme, and they will go just fine together on either side as I try to create that cohesion and keep it symmetrical. So we're going to plant all of these together. I'm going to continue with the really pretty yellow viola and then the white chrysanthemum. We're going to add a little bit of that purple alyssum there, and instead of doing the white cabbage or ornamental kale, excuse me, I'm going to add the purple leaf. And as we get cooler, that purple leaf will get darker and more rich in color. All right, let's get to planting. And as we did with the other arrangement, this one is going to start with the moisture control soil here. We're just going to add that to the center. Add a little bit of the organic Biotone starter fertilizer. So I'm going to start just like the other one with my chrysanthemums, putting those on either side. And just like the other arrangement that I planted a moment ago, this is going to be a full sun arrangement, and it's perfect because it's going to be facing the east. All right, so now I'm going to put in the front here, those stalks right there. And if you know anything about stalks, they are so fragrant. Such a beautiful, fragrant flower. Oh yeah, that looks great. And then back here, I'm going to pop in the snapdragons, making sure that I have enough of the soil around the other root balls of the other plants. And this one is very, very healthy. Pop that in there. Making sure that I don't go above the root ball with that soil, but making sure also that I do have the soil in between the little crevices where the root balls do meet. And already, look how pretty that is. Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, let's clean this up. And now, just like the other arrangement, I'm going to add the ornamental kale, but I'm going to add the purple variety to either side. And then directly across on the other side, I'm going to pop in the other one. And I love that. This is really nice that this has a mix of these ornamental kale, because I didn't have to buy two different flats. They all came in the same 6-pack flat. Now I'm going to add this one. This is a little bit bigger in size. To the other side, the other variety that's just the same on the other side of the snapdragon. So I'm gonna see if I can pop that in here. And these are a little bit more difficult to add into here just simply because the root ball, and these are a larger container. I really did like the flexibility of the other ones being that they were smaller root ball in the 6-pack. So now I'm going to add one of the alyssum. So this is going to be interesting to see how this grows over time. These aren't very root bound, so you got to be careful. But that's perfect. I can pop that in right here. So I have viola right here, and then an alyssum. And on the other side, same thing, viola and then alyssum. And now I can add the other colors. All right, so there's this one, everybody. Doesn't that look nice? A beautiful fall arrangement full of beautiful fall annuals that will last through the entire fall, and who knows how far into the winter here in Southern California. So let's get them in their places. I'm gonna get this watered in, and I'm gonna show you what they look like, where they're gonna be. All right, so here's the second arrangement that I just put together, and doesn't it look really nice? You have that beautiful purple along with the whites and then the pop of the yellow. So nice, and I think it's going to be perfect right here on this side of our house, simply because we have a lot of lavenders here and greens on this side, and I think it's not going to fight with those colors. I have the lavenders and whites and deep purples in the hanging basket behind me. I have another hanging basket container right in front of me. You can't see, it's not in the shot right there, but it has lavenders as well. And I think this is going to play nicely with what we already have over here. So not only are these arrangements beautiful to look at, they also didn't break the bank to put together. And I think the real money saving tip was I didn't find them at the big box retailer. I went to a locally owned garden center and found all of these items on sale. And remember, it was just about $40 for all of the plants. I didn't even use all the plants, and look at how full these are. I'm gonna get more use out of the extra plants in other containers, so that's an even bigger savings when you really think about it. And the potting mix that I used was only about $10. So if you add that to the $40 I spent on the plants, we have two beautiful arrangements for $50 in comparison to the $40 arrangement. That was beautiful, but a lot more expensive. And so our money went a little bit further, and I really am happy with how they turned out. And we got to choose the plants, or I got to choose the plants that I wanted in each of these containers. So we hope you enjoyed today's video on these beautiful fall arrangements and how we save some money. And we hope to see you very soon in our next video. Until then, happy gardening, everybody. Take care.